Welcome to Quick Course Digest. Today, we're going to unpack how the massive global shipping industry actually works. And to do that, we're going to follow just one ship on its 2-month, 17,000-mile journey from America to Asia and back again. Trust me, by the end of this, you'll see how this single voyage explains, well, everything. So, let's start with a number, 13,092. What is that? That's how many shipping containers are crammed onto our ship, the Maersk Essex. Now get this. 15 years ago, a ship this big would have been an absolute giant of the seas. Today, it's just a workhorse, making a totally routine trip. And that change, right there, is the key to this entire story. Okay, so first up, the age of behemoths. Because you can't understand modern shipping without understanding just how insanely big these ships have gotten. Bigger ships mean, you guessed it, much, much bigger stakes. I mean, just look at the scale of this. It's wild. Back in 2006, the biggest ship in the world could carry about 9,600 containers. Fast forward to 2021, and that number jumps to nearly 24,000. We're talking 2.5 times the capacity in just 15 years. And that, right there, is why our ship, the Essex, is no longer a record breaker. It's just standard. This relentless push for bigger and bigger ships fueled a massive industry consolidation. See, to get the economies of scale you need to afford these behemoths, the biggest companies started swallowing each other up. Think about it like this. In the year 2000, the top 10 companies controlled about half the market. Today, they control a staggering 85%. It's fewer players, bigger ships, and way bigger stakes. All right, let's get back to our ship, the Essex. As it heads over to Asia, it's not just a simple boat trip from point A to point B. Oh, no. This is a full-blown strategic mission where every single decision is about squeezing out every last drop of efficiency. And one of the cleverest tricks they came up with is something called slow steaming. It was actually born out of a crisis, the 2008 financial meltdown. You had fuel prices that were through the roof, and at the same time, demand for goods just fell off a cliff. So the shipping lines came up with a brilliantly simple idea. What if we just go slower? This basically gives them a throttle for the entire global supply chain. When demand is low, like on the Essex's current trip to Asia, they can ease off the gas, slow steam, and save a ton of money on fuel. We're talking up to 25%. But when demand is booming, they can floor it, get the cargo delivered faster, and hustle back for the next load. It's a strategic lever they're constantly pulling to balance cost and speed. And the operation isn't just strategic, it's incredibly global. I mean, check this out. The Essex is owned by a Danish company. It was built in South Korea. For regulatory reasons, it's registered in Panama. The captain's an American, and the crew is a true microcosm of the world, with mariners from the Philippines, India, Bulgaria, you name it. In fact, the Philippines is now the single largest source of labor for the entire maritime industry. So as the Essex is hopping between ports in Asia, it's picking up all the things we buy every day, like shoes made in Vietnam. And that brings up a really fundamental question about, well, globalization itself. You ever wonder how a pair of shoes that sells for just $20 in a store can possibly be profitable after being shipped halfway across the planet? The answer is 30 cents. No, seriously. Before all the recent chaos, that's about what it cost to get a single shoebox from a port in Vietnam all the way to a port in California. That's less than a single McDonald's chicken nugget. This right here is the economic miracle that makes globalization possible. It's the fact that distance has become almost totally irrelevant in the cost of making things. Okay, so the Essex is now fully in Asia, loading up thousands of those containers. But you can't just pile them on wherever they fit. No, loading one of these ships is like playing the most mind-bendingly complex game of 4D Tetris you can possibly imagine. And this table gives you just a tiny, tiny glimpse of the rules. It's nuts. Containers for the first port have to be on top so you can get them off easily. Refrigerated containers need a power source. And then you have the hazardous materials. Corrosive stuff can't be in the same part of the ship as infectious substances. Things that are dangerous when wet, they have to be at least 6 meters away from anything radioactive. It's a puzzle so complex that it takes a powerful computer program to figure out the perfect plan. So after its last stop in Asia, the Essex is finally packed to the brim, and it starts its long journey back across the Pacific. For almost 2 weeks, it's nothing but open water. But as the ship gets closer to California, the end of the journey is actually just the beginning of the problem.
The crew can finally see land again. The long crossing is over. They've arrived at their destination, the enormous port complex of Los Angeles and Long Beach, the gateway that handles about 40% of all the container cargo coming into the United States. They've made it. But then the ship slows to a stop. It drops anchor. And it just waits. The next day, it does the same thing. And the day after that. It's so close it can see its destination, but it can't move. Something has gone very, very wrong.
For 17 days, for 17 straight days, the Maersk Essex sat at anchor off the coast of California. Let that sink in. That's longer than its entire journey across the vast Pacific Ocean. It was stuck in a massive traffic jam at sea, just waiting for a spot to open up.
So what on earth happened? How could a system that was built for pure hyper-efficiency grind to a complete halt like this? Well, the answer isn't a single broken part. It's the entire system buckling under the pressure. It's chaos compounding chaos.
So, the root cause is a massive surge in demand. Shipping across the Pacific is up about 25% from where it was before the pandemic. Now, 25% might not sound like a huge number, but think of it like traffic on a highway. A 25% increase in cars doesn't just make your trip 25% longer, right? It creates total gridlock. The whole system just seizes up. And this quote just captures the problem perfectly. It's not a simple vicious cycle you can break. It's more like a vicious web. Every problem just feeds into another problem, creating this tangled mess where the chaos just keeps compounding on itself, making everything worse. Let's just trace this web real quick. The surge in cargo means trucks have to wait longer to pick up their containers. That means there are fewer trucks available to pick up the next load, so the containers start stacking up at the port, leaving no space for new ones, which means it takes way longer to unload the ships, which of course means more ships are stuck waiting at anchor, just like the Essex, and with all those ships stuck, they can't get back to Asia for the next load, which reduces the whole system's capacity and just starts the cycle all over again. So what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, it's that the incredible efficiency of ocean shipping, the very thing that made it so successful, is also its greatest weakness. The entire system was built with absolutely no slack, no wiggle room. So when a major disruption finally hit, it had no ability to absorb the shock. And that really leaves us with a critical question for the future. For decades, we've built a system that is unbelievably efficient. But as we've just seen, it's not very resilient. The challenge now, for everyone, is to figure out how we can build a global supply chain that is somehow, someway, both.